if she comes into the room, JoJo's, I'll play her on air shout out again one more time. But can you believe it? It's Friday night. We've got a fantastic topic, a wonderful rabbit hole to explore this evening. Now, when you consider biohacking, or the activity of exploiting genetic
absolute beginners came to Georgetown. They were wearing Harris tweed and pork pie hats. They'd slit your throat and throw you in the gutter. But it's all you can expect from men like that. The bus is bound for Niles Bend Harbor. The ladies wear perfume to scar your nose. And the only way to reach them is to scare them. But of that you know little, I suppose. It's a magical and mystical performance as you perambulate right down the road, with your pockets full of stardust and perfection, and Jesus on your side and in your soul. She had rings on every finger and 10 bracelets, some touch with powers given by a sage. He had contemplated giving her his wristwatch. The time for him had long since gone its way. Of the city he would shuffle, while spinning on his heels and chewing beef. He had promised her he'd be a vegetarian, but he could not control his lust for meat. Some say she left the streets for greater glory, but others said that she was big with child. Whatever was the truth, it did not matter. He would hunt her down and cut her with his smile. Last time he was seen was by the pawn shop. He traded 2 gold teeth for a sack of corn, and he would plant it on the outskirts of the city as a warning that he would someday return. He said he never found her and he's still looking. It is said he searches rivers for some sign, but the truth is that he caught her down in Georgetown with a Spaniard who had left his wife behind.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Don't you wish that your weekend was longer than just 2 days? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because here on Ripon Common Sense Radio, our weekend begins on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Our weekend kicks off every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with Dark Wolf's Den, starring yours truly, Jerry the Dark Wolf. But that's where the fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back every Thursday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show, starring AJ the Ripon Rabbit. He dives into the archives of vocal legend Art Bell and brings those stories up to date. So make sure that you spend your extended weekends with the Animals of Radio, Jerry the Dark Wolf and AJ the Ripon Rabbit, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, every Wednesday through Sunday, right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio. Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dark Wolf's Den. I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and tonight we're going to ask a question that a lot of people don't really ask so much, and if they do, they don't really dig into the deep depths of the topic, and that is, what would happen after disclosure? We all have a pretty good idea of what disclosure itself would look like, but let's say the government come out and disclose that aliens were real and they've been here and they're visiting, and then let's say they come down and decide to integrate with our society. What would that look like? Let's discuss the day after disclosure. Oh, yeah.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and this is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Tonight, as I said a moment ago, we're going to be discussing disclosure, or D-Day, the day that the government finally admits to everything that the truth community, at least the ufology community in specific, has been screaming about for many, many years. You see, when it comes to the UFO topic, or unidentified aerial phenomenon topic as it's called in official documentation, the government has always given off more mixed signals than a nervous teenager on their first date. Sometimes they'll agree, sometimes they won't, but they always want to make sure that they say no, 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 can't exist. At least that's the way that it used to be. However, it seems in modern times, at least in the last 4 years, we've seen a complete paradigm change. You see, at the beginning of the 2016 election period, there was suddenly this talk from the Clinton side of things about ufology and UFOs and being able to release, or going to talk about at least, releasing the information in relation to UFOs. Disclosure is what that would be called, of course. And they're never going to step out on the red carpet and say, here guys, this is everything we have. But the first one to do it, the first country, the first politician to step out on the red carpet and say, here's what we have, this is the truth, and this is what we know, that will break the dam for every other country in the world to do the exact same thing. It's only going to take one. I'd like to think it would be our amazing United States of America, and I can only hope that in the future that would be the case. But has the government always been open about these topics? Absolutely not. I mean, not even a little bit. There was a guy named Paul Benowitz, and this is a case file that I discussed with Heather Wade over on the Kingdom of Nye radio show a couple weeks ago. And the Benowitz case is really disturbing when it comes to the government. You see, there was a guy named Richard Doty who was a disinformation agent. And Mr. Doty has admittedly said that he's went into the ufology community and misled many a researcher. Well, he was also responsible for driving one man literally to the brink of insanity and beyond. So Paul Benowitz is a guy who's just your average American citizen. Good guy, you know, pays his taxes, goes to work every day, does what he's supposed to do. He lives right across the street from an army base. And I may have the, which branch of the military wrong, but he lived across the street from a base. And he suddenly started receiving radio signals from the base. He didn't realize, however, that they were coming from the base. Then he built some, as an electrical engineer, he built a machine to increase or amplify these signals so that he would know what was being said. Well, the government later on would find this out, but we'll get to that in a moment. He had seen lights over the base after this, and as any good citizen would do, he reported it to the local base across the street from him and let them know that he was seeing some strange phenomenon and that they might want to look into it. And they could have easily said, okay, sir, thank you, have a good day, and that would have been the end of this story, but it's not. You see, they decided they wanted to have what they would call fun with this man. They would break into this man's house, steal his stuff, move his furniture completely around while he's at home. Could you imagine that? Coming home after a long day's work and your entire house is rearranged and you're the only one that lives there? After a couple times, that would start to maybe make you think you're going crazy if you didn't already have an idea of what these agents would do, the government agents, to drive somebody crazy. Personally, I would come in every day knowing that they most likely have me tapped at that point or listening to what I'm saying. I would come in and compliment them on what a wonderful job they've done with my house. I would mess with them upside one side and down another, let them know I know it's them, but that's just me. But this guy, of course, this is years ago. You wouldn't think the government would do that to their own citizens. That's the last thing you would think would happen. Well, that's exactly what happened. They drove this man to the point of insanity. They stole his machine he made to listen to the radio waves that were coming in, and then they drove him mad, literally to the point of being institutionalized. So the government has always had this bad mojo when it comes to the UFO topic, and they've always put a taboo on it. Even in the media, especially in the media, they can't talk about a UFO subject or a case file without playing the X-Files music or laughing horrendously. And that's just not right. But again, in 2016, it's like this whole paradigm took a shift, and they decided that the UFO topic needs to come out. And slowly, they've been leaking this information thanks to one group called TTSA, or To the Stars Academy. There's a lot of debate about whether this group has good intention or not. I personally think they do. Any group that is pushing for disclosure of information, in my opinion, is got a check mark in my book. The most recent news releases, as we know, is the Tic Tac UFO, which got released 4 times. And here's what actually happened. It wasn't officially released 4 times. In December of 2018, and I will never forget this, I want to say it was December 16th, if I'm not mistaken. It was a day that will monumentally go down in history. For the first time in my lifetime, I seen a legit news report that was not making fun of the UFO topic, which was really different from what I've seen all of my life studying the ufology topic. In December of 2018, the TTSA, run by Tom DeLonge of Blink-182, released the Tic Tac UFO video, the first official government video released. Now, it wasn't officially released by the government, but it was an official government video that got released into the hands of the public, or leaked, as they would say. Then in September of 2019, the Navy confirms the veracity of the videos. They said, yes, that is us. We really did capture these things on video, and yeah, that wasn't supposed to get to the public, but it did. Then on April 28th, 2020, the Navy officially released the videos to the public under the guise of, quote, clearing up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that has been circulating was real or whether or not there is more to the videos, end quote. Now, I know that doesn't sound super important, but let me backtrack here. The Navy officially released not only the videos that were in question, but also they released a statement following it up to verify that it really is a thing. And that is coming from the government, the first time that I know of that they've ever officially released anything in the range of ufology whatsoever. So this is absolutely gargantuan. They've also done a couple more things, like they've changed the pilot's restrictions in relation to UFO reporting because of the new cameras they ended up getting. that were picking up UFOs left, right, and center. So they now could not deny what they were seeing, and probably had vaults full of tape and footage at this point, and had no other choice but to say, okay, we want to know more, and we need to find a way to do it. And that's exactly what they've started doing. They've implemented new rules for pilots. Instead of having your license pulled, they won't do that anymore. They will actually listen to your report, take it under consideration, and file it away as a legit report, not as something crazy or reason to get rid of the pilot. But how close are we to disclosure? Just how close are we to the government saying that we may actually not be alone? Well, the president was actually recently asked about this. Listen here.
Before you leave office, will you let us know if there's aliens? Because this is the only thing I really want to know. I want to know what's going on. Would you ever open up Roswell and let us know what's really going on there?
So many people ask me that question.
I know, it sounds almost ridiculous, but it's actually the real question I want to know.
It sounds like a cute question, but it's actually, there are millions and millions of people that want to go there, that want to see it. I won't talk to you about what I know about it, but it's very interesting. But Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
So you're saying you may declassify?
Oh.
You'll take it?
Well, I'll have to think about that one, right? I'll have to think.
All right.
I tell you, I'd like to know what's at Roswell. That's definitely for sure. But what also has happened leading up to this point, and the reason the TTSA has done something really, really intriguing, is the fact that Senator Harry Reid actually kicked a lot of this off. He created a black budget program. And I wouldn't even say black budget, just not exactly a talked about program. Put a little bit of money into it. And then sent it over to Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace. And they started investigating the UFO topic under government authority. And the Pentagon, it was an official Pentagon program run by a guy named Louis Elizondo. And Louis Elizondo's given many interviews and whatnot talking about it. There's a reason why Mr. Bigelow is actually interested in this topic, and it's actually very, very intriguing. You see, Robert Bigelow's father was killed in a plane crash, along with a lot of other wealthy Nevada businessmen. Bigelow's father, they believe in this plane was somehow had something to do with a UFO that made the plane crash. So as he got older and as he got wealthier, Mr. Bigelow would hold conferences on the subject of UFOs and the possibility of ET life. Senator Reid actually attended one of these seminars and found it so fascinating that he decided to work with Reid and try to find out if there was a deeper answer to the mystery. And it's been rumored that the TTSA actually may have pieces of metal that Bigelow may be researching at this time. It's all speculative, that part is. It's only rumor. I don't know that for fact. But it is speculated that perhaps the Robert Bigelow Aerospace Industries is actually trying to back engineer some of this stuff for public knowledge, not to keep hidden like other, how do we say, government funded programs like, NASA. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say it, NASA. They keep stuff hidden all the time. They've lied to us for many, many, many years, especially us ufologists, and we know that. But this goes to another level. You see, putting all this together, also remember that our president also enacted a brand new branch of military service.
Very importantly, I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. That's a big statement.
A big statement indeed, but what would that lead to? What exactly would that look like? So a Space Force, right? We've got a Space Force out there that's going to be patrolling the skies above our rock, right? Okay, fair enough. So what about the technologies that this is going to, quote, lead to, end quote? You remember in our paranormal technologies episode that we discussed how a lot of technology that they found at Roswell was released into the public as if a regular scientist had figured it out and was given the patent. However, how much of that technology did they give back to the military, and the military decided not to release such information or technologies? What kind of technologies are hidden behind the scenes that we probably will never be made aware of? Or I would have said such before these last couple of years. Since the Space Force has been enacted, I gotta say, some of these technologies may just come to light. Like last year I said, and I'm going to say this now with 4 years because I said 5 years last year, within 4 years, I believe that anti-gravity will be a released technology. We're going to suddenly happen to stumble upon it just in time for the Space Force to do its job, right? I think that's exactly how it's going to play out, along with many other technologies. I think we're about to have a technological leap here soon. That way they can release this information they've held for so long and have a guise to release it under and make it look like it was brand new information they just figured out. This seems to be a classic move by the government and the powers that be. But let's think about another question. Let's get back to disclosure. What would disclosure look like, right? What about the president coming out on the red carpet? Do you think that would ever happen? So let's say a world leader, let's say the American president comes out and says, "Ladies and gentlemen of America, I have an announcement to make. We have found out that alien life does exist and has visited this planet. We have found out that Roswell really happened, and there's government agencies that have been dealing with this information, and the aliens are real, and the UFOs are real, and most of the cases that are claimed by people who have seen UFOs are legitimately seeing something from out of this world." Now that right there would be enough to set any other country onto their heels, because they don't want to be left behind in anything. So then you would have all these different presidents and leaders of the world coming out and admitting the same information from their files and releasing all the information that they have. This would be the most wonderful disclosure we could ever ask for. All of the information over all the years that's been hidden and kept secret. All the questions ufologists have answered about all the questions ufologists have asked, about Roswell, about Rendlesham, about all these different UFO cases that we know are legitimately verified, they cannot be explained. Finally, we would get details and information released from our own governments across the world. How would that change the face of society? What kind of ramifications would that really have amongst society? Because that's not going to be, as Nick Pope put it, a utopia. It's not going to be a utopia at all. It's actually going to be very divisive among many, many different groups, from political to social to religious, all the way down the line. There's going to be so many changes, not just in America, but across the entire world. We now have information that we're not the only creatures in the entire galaxy. We went from being the most special thing, if you will, the only creature that had intelligence, to being one of probably a population of many. So that in and of itself changes our entire paradigm of how we think about where we are in the universe and who we are in the universe. Because as of right now, we are the only intelligent life we've ever found, and I use the words intelligent life very loosely for some, but I say that jokingly, of course. Anyway, the intelligence found across the galaxy would change our entire paradigm and our entire way of thinking about how life could form anywhere else. And life doesn't necessarily have to look like us either. We found life in all kinds of different areas on this planet, like extremophiles. These are creatures that can survive in the worst of conditions, like the most arid or the most humid or the most cold, the most dry, or whatever the condition is. They can survive with no issue, whereas humans would not be that lucky. And that's just one of many factors. There's a lot of factors that would go into disclosure before even getting to a day of first contact, but just disclosing what we would know. The Catholic Church has actually made statements on this, and we'll get into that in the second half. But what do you guys think? disclosure. Do you think we'll ever actually get the day that the presidents and world leaders come out and admit everything they know? I would like to think that would happen, and we are a whole lot closer than we were just a very, very short couple years ago.
My take on the day after disclosure and the month and year after disclosure is that it's going to be very disruptive. It's not going to bring utopia. It's going to bring a lot of problems. It'll exacerbate, not ameliorate, most of the social issues that we have right now. Because think about it. If disclosure happens, short of the president bringing a gray alien on the podium, chances are disclosure will not happen with an alien present. So let's say it doesn't happen that way. Let's say the president just makes a statement and says this is real.
And I misspoke a moment ago. This is not Nick Pope. This is Richard Dolan. My apologies. Those two guys, though, in all fairness, could darn well be brothers if they weren't from two different countries. I swear to goodness, you look at them side by side, they look a lot alike. But, like he said, if the president comes out on the podium, there most likely will not be an alien standing next to him. So we're going to be left with a whole different set of variables here.
Up front now, the former Pentagon military official who ran the covert government program up until this last November, Luis Elizondo. Luis, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, first, tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
Sure. The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as eyewitness reports, through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security, in a nutshell.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think it's probably been a little bit mischaracterized in some of the social media you see and what people put out, because a lot of times when we don't have a lot of information, we tend to fill in those gaps with what we think is logical. And there's still, by the way, a lot we really don't know. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting, anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. So people
so do
are
you
talking.
Think, I mean, but do you believe, when you get that Navy pilot saying what he said, do you think that was, a UFO? To obviously, I don't have any other word to use, or that, or something else? Sure,
That's a great question. Keeping in mind, it's not just the pilot's testimony on an observation. Sure, when someone comes to you who's in charge of a multi-million-dollar weapon platform, who maintains a top-secret security clearance, who is paid and trusted by this country to go fight wars and to fly over cities with live munitions, and by the way, they're trained observers with millions of dollars invested in their training. Yep. I would submit to you it's pretty compelling. But on top of that, it's not just the eyewitness testimony. It is actual electro-optical data and radar returns. It's also people like radar operators and air traffic controllers. So I think the discussion should be maybe a little bit broader than that. I think people are focusing just on 2 videos coming from a set of F-18s when really it's a lot more than that. So recently, I guess it was in October, astronomers spotted what they say could be the first interstellar asteroid. You see it there, kind of that strange shape from beyond the solar system. What do you see when you look at that? Well, Ms. Burnett, I have to admit to you, when I ran this program, I was fundamentally looking at, my colleagues looking at 2 things. Yeah. What is it and how does it work? We have deliberately stayed away from going down the rabbit hole of who's behind the wheel and what are their intentions. Yeah. Because a lot of people have a lot of feelings towards that and are very emotional about that. And what I wanted to do is to allow the data to speak for itself and then use that data to inform leadership, senior DoD leadership, about the potential threat that these type of technologies pose to national security, especially over any type of controlled airspace that we might have. So I'm not trying to be evasive in any way or vague with your answer, but
yeah. Well,
I think there's a lot of possibilities.
Look, and I know you think it's important. I know you think that the government didn't take the threat seriously enough. So let me just ask you point blank the question. Do you believe that life from somewhere else, while you ran this program, came here, visited, observed?
I will tell you unequivocally that through the observation, scientific methodologies that were applied to look at this phenomena, that these aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory, nor in any foreign inventory that we are aware of.
So I know you're being clear, but I mean, the answer is yes.
I can't speak on behalf of the government. Obviously, I'm not in the U.S. government anymore. My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone, whatever that means.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Luis Elizondo, who used to be the chief of the Pentagon program called ATIP, Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Phenomena, or program, or something like that. Something with a P. Anyway, we're not in disclosure just yet. We are in what's called confirmation. They are confirming everything that has happened so long without coming out and saying, yes, it's absolutely real. But they are absolutely confirming everything that we've been saying as ufologists for many, many years. Yes, UFOs are real. Yes, they are doing maneuvers we can't explain. Yes, they are being caught on camera and radar. This is confirmation of everything we've been saying for so many years, from professionals and military all the way down to the common Joe. All of us have seen something that we cannot explain. It goes beyond the bounds of any regular military equipment. But we're going to go ahead and take a break right here. I know it's a little bit early, but we got a lot of stuff to cover in the second half. We're going to need every little bit of extra time that we can get. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we'll be back right after these commercials. Don't you touch that dial.
Hi, everyone. It's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying the Dark Wolf's Den show hosted by Jerry Hicks with a special look at the day after D-Day? Disclosure? I know I am. If you've enjoyed the program up to this point, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. All shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. I'll return tomorrow night with our monthly installment of Fantastic Fun Show, an interactive family game show. Will Nikki Rabbit stay seated on the throne as the Fantastic Fun King Queen and or become the first to remain seated 2 times in a row? Or will someone claim the crown? Tune in tomorrow night starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's Thursday, July 2nd. Then Friday, July 3rd, a heavy dose of reality with Mr. Brian Stavely. He'll be here. We're going to learn a lot more about him and his Mandela Effect journey through time with a dose of reality. Friday, July 3rd, 2020, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. Then Saturday night, our special Independence episode. Tune in for a special holiday edition, an Independence Spectacular. That's Saturday, July 4th, 2020, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then Sunday night, July 5th, you won't want to miss our special episode of the Mandela Monthly July installation. Co-host Moneybag73 will be here. We're going to dive down Mandela Unaffected with special guest Dr. Elizabeth Loftus.
I'm a psychological scientist. I study memory. I've studied memory for decades. And if I meet somebody on an airplane and we ask each other, what do you do, what do you do? And I say, I study memory. They usually want to tell me how they have trouble remembering names, or they've got a relative who's got Alzheimer's or some kind of memory problem. But I have to tell them, I don't study when people forget. I study the opposite, when they remember. When they remember things that didn't happen, or remember things that were different from the way they really were.
And that, again, the voice, our guest, Sunday, July 5th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, American cognitive psychologist and expert on human memory, joins Moneybag 73 and I for our monthly edition of the Mandela Monthly. You won't want to miss it. We'll be back to the day after D-Day disclosure with Jerry Hicks in just a moment, right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the RipandRabbitHole.com.
Are you a YouTube creator that's tired of fighting over copyright issues for using the wrong music in your videos? Or perhaps a songwriter looking for something new? I know when I started Dark Wolf's Den, I needed some original music, and for me, the answer was a no-brainer. I immediately called Tom Bayless of Red Shed Studios. Tom has been in the music industry for over 20 years and has a true passion for the art. So if you need a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you contact Tom Bayless at Red Shed Studios at 920-344-7634. That's 920-344-7634. Red Shed Studios. And welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show. I hope everybody's enjoying it so far. So far in the first half, we've looked at disclosure and what it would look like if the president come out on the carpet and actually said, hey, look, here's disclosure. Here is the truth about aliens and UFOs and everything the government knows. But let's take that a step further. Let's say that an alien civilization decided to come down and integrate with the human race. Do you think that's even possible? I know this is a bit of a wild speculation, but let's consider the idea for just a moment. What kind of impact would that have on the reality of society and everything around us? How would everything we know be changed overnight if an alien civilization integrated with this civilization that's on the earth right now? Think of something like the movie and TV show Alien Nation. What kind of actions would be taken? What kind of laws would need to be drawn up? What kind of rights would be needed for something like that?
So let's say it doesn't happen that way. Let's say the president just makes a statement and says this is real. So that's going to open up the cultural divide even further. There will be people, Christian evangelists, who will say that these are demons.
And already you hear people talking about aliens being fallen angels and not really being aliens. And I got to put my 2 cents in on this particular debate. And I think that that's impossible. Only because, well, I wouldn't say impossible. Let me try a different set of wording there. I don't like that word. I don't think that's what's happening. And the reason that I don't think that's what's happening is because if that were the case, they'd have already done an alien invasion. If it would be that simple to make people think that that was going on, they would have already pulled it off. They wouldn't be waiting in the wings, and we definitely would know about it if it were demonic activity, in my opinion.
There will be New Agers out in California who will say that these are our space brothers and the Galactic Federation of Light here to help us ascend to the next density. There is no bridge long enough to cover that gap in belief. So that argument will just become greater and greater.
But that does bring in a whole nother set of interesting problems or things that need to be addressed, like religion.
But what would these beings be like? Science fiction has imagined creatures like us, humanoid bipeds with music, politics, art, and religion. We see religion as a uniquely human thing. No other animal on Earth approaches the same level of complexity in rituals, doctrines, mythologies. But what if religion is not uniquely human? What if an alien culture out there also practices their own form of religion? And what would happen to ours if they visit us someday?
And would an alien even have a religion? What would happen, as Art Bell used to always ask, if an alien got out of a UFO holding our Holy Bible? What would happen then? What would people say? What would they think? who knows, that could happen. I mean, is that really out of the realm of possibility? Or maybe they have some alien god that they worship. Or maybe they worship the universe. Maybe they don't have a religion.
Many believe that humanity will abandon religion after alien first contact. Even in the 18th century, the American founding father Thomas Paine claimed that religion and the existence of intelligent alien life is incompatible. To believe that God created a plurality of worlds, at least as numerous as what we call stars, renders the Christian system of faith at once little and ridiculous, and scatters it in the mind like feathers in the air. 200 years distant from Thomas Paine, many feel the same way.
Your report describes how rational these people are millennia ago. They abandoned their belief in the supernatural. Now you are asking me to sabotage that achievement?
But theologians have already grappled with these issues. The Protestant preacher Thomas Chalmers in the 1800s argued for the existence of extraterrestrial intelligent life. For him, denying this is tantamount to limiting the power of God himself. Why should we think that the great architect of nature, supreme in wisdom as he is in power, would call these stately mansions into existence and leave them unoccupied? The Vatican itself manages an observatory and a college of astronomers, some who have entertained the existence of intelligent alien life. In 2008, an astronomer, priest, and director of the Vatican Observatory surmised that the existence of alien life would not harm Catholic theology. Just as there exists a multiplicity of creatures on Earth, there can be other intelligent beings created by God. This does not contradict our faith, because we cannot put limits on the creative freedom of God. First contact alone wouldn't necessarily drive people to abandon religion. Theologians have prepared for this contingency, and our human religions have proven to be supremely adaptable in the face of new evidence. But it would change our theologies forever.
What about the Catholic stance? I mentioned earlier the Catholic Church has taken a stance on it. Well, it turns out back around 2010 or so, they did take quite a stance and said that the aliens are our space brothers, and we would baptize an alien just as quickly as we would baptize anyone else if they asked to be so. And I just wonder what fundamental Christians would think about this.
Did Jesus die for the aliens too? Does the cycle of samsara include reincarnation as alien life? Do aliens have souls? Just like in the aftermath of Copernicus's heliocentric theory, we would need to abandon our anthropocentric universe, dismantle our notion that we are chosen as the only sentient beings with the unique ability to comprehend the divine. But if wholesale abandonment of religion is unlikely, what could we expect? Scholars over the past decade have taken up this thought experiment as the science of exoplanets has matured, including astronomer David Weintraub at Vanderbilt University, who authored the book Religions and Extraterrestrial Life, and Boston University professor John Hart, author of Cosmic Commons. Dr. Hart's book warns that first contact could mirror the economic and ethical injustices that were committed when European settlers first encountered the indigenous populations of North and South America.
Which, as we all know, did not end well for the indigenous populations of North or South America, as Stephen Hawking himself did point out at one time.
Indeed, technological imbalance between the two species could introduce a power differential, leading perhaps to forcible assimilation into alien religions. Forced conversion, though, is only one option. Perhaps we would convert willingly. How many of us would join an extraterrestrial faith out of sheer fascination of its alien belief system?
Maybe they'd want to join an Earth religion. Would that be possible? Would an alien be accepted in an Earth religion?
Or how many aliens would join a human faith?
I didn't realize you were familiar with Earth religions, Doctor. Oh, yes. In fact, while I was there, I made it a point to study a number of them. I spent 2 weeks at a Tibetan monastery, where I learned to sing chords with the High Lamas. I attended Mass at St. Peter's Square.
But why does it have to be an either-or situation?
Yet another option remains, though, the melding of our respective faiths. A syncretism of human and alien religion produced out of our shared creative agency. Cultures throughout history have repeatedly shown a propensity to blend their beliefs and practices with others. Haitian Vodou draws on elements of Roman Catholicism and West African religions. Archaeological evidence from the ancient Mediterranean attests to practices that blend elements from Jewish, Christian, and Greco-Roman cults. First contact, then, may well result in a wellspring of new religious expressions born from a cultural exchange between two uncontacted intelligent species. We can only speculate, and all of this is just that, speculation.
But oh, what fun speculation it is it not? What about rights? Would an alien have the same rights as you and me? Would they have rights at all? Would they have more rights? We would have to draw up a whole list of political do's and don'ts and what rights an alien would be given. Because even our Constitution says all humans or all man is created equal, but it doesn't say all aliens and creatures in the universe is created equal. So would they be treated fairly and equally here on Earth? And it really makes a question about looking at ourselves. How do we treat ourselves? Just because the melanin content in our skin is different, some of us treat others a lot differently, which I don't agree with, but it's what happens in the real world. We can ignore it or we can look at it either way. It's what happens. So how about an alien creature? How much worse would that be than just a different looking human? A completely different looking creature altogether? Would that bring on a new type of racism or speciesism? Or could we get past that? Could we see past all of that and see that we're both living creatures and all of us have different feelings, or assumed to have have different feelings and emotions and thoughts and uniqueness to us? Would that bring us closer as individuals? Would it teach us lessons about ourselves? Or would we go down the other path and make it a bad thing? There's always two sides to every argument. And what about illegal immigration? Well, there's already talk of illegal immigration between countries. Think about illegal interstellar immigration, as we see in like Men in Black. What if will be people screaming, too many people on the planet, or not enough people on the planet, or whatever the case may be. There will be debates over this for the end of millennia because of the one idea of the first contact and aliens being here with us, and all the different rights and political necessities that would need to be made in order to ensure that fairness and equality was played out across the board. There's really a lot of things that go into this, and that's yet another just very small topic of the many, many topics that we will continue to cover through this episode, and what disclosure would actually look like.
And then you'll have a lot of other debates. Are they friend? Are they foe? Just more generally, there will definitely be fear. How great will the fear be? I don't know, but it could be enough to be disruptive. But then you have the political blowback. There are people who have what you might call a dog-like obedience to authority, who will just take anything the government says and okay, great. No, you kept this secret for our safety for all these years, great. Not everyone will be like that. So there will be a lot of people who will be angry at the fact that they've been lied to for an entire, generation after generation. So what will that result in? What will happen with a citizen movement? We've had Occupy Wall Street. What about Occupy Area 51? Occupy Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? You think that's possible? I do. And so there'll be a lot of angry people who will be engaged in their own activism. They want to find out. Then you look at what I feel is really maybe the center of this, which is the energy paradigm. I feel that energy is key to this. Whatever these objects use to traverse the skies, it is not petroleum, whatever that is. So by acknowledging the reality of UAP or UFOs, implicitly we're going to recognize that there's another source of energy. And how long will it take before we realize what that source is? My guess is not very long.
And that really brings into question a whole new set of issues, like a post-petroleum world. What would that actually look like? No more gas, no more fuel, nothing like that. It'd have a major economic impact for sure. It would change the way we do business, the way we do everything. New energies and new technologies and integration like that, like anti-gravity, for instance, among many, many other technologies. As we discussed in the Paranormal Tech episode, the many technologies that they've hidden for many, many years, this would open up a whole new paradigm of energy creation and transference.
Because the biggest obstacle in achieving the next paradigm of energy is simply realizing that it exists at all. Once you realize it exists, you're going to get to it. So implicit in a post-disclosure world is a post-petroleum global infrastructure, which is really monumental.
And again, this is yet just another one of many issues that will need to be dealt with. There's another major issue that will really become a problem if we don't look into it as quickly as we can after the arrival of our alien friends.
We don't know what organisms would be using a Martian creature as a host.
And as we remember, the War of the Worlds movie, or in the book and the story there, that the aliens caught a common cold and ended up being defeated. Well, humans didn't even defeat them. The bacteria or virus, whatever it was, of a common cold is what ended up defeating the aliens there. But it really does bring into question, what kind of alien microbes would they be carrying that we would not be immune to, or vice versa? What other kind of microbes and viruses would be here on Earth that wouldn't be very friendly to them? And either way, it would end up in a bad scenario. Could you imagine catching an alien flu? You think what we've got going on right now is bad. An alien flu, there's no telling what could happen. I'm not even going to go into that. We're on the airwaves. But anyway, the medical and the things like that, how would you work on an alien? How would somebody do surgery to save an alien's life? We don't exactly have textbooks right now that have alien anatomy in them, so we would have to rewrite the textbooks or write brand new textbooks on how to deal with the anatomy of an alien, let alone what other things could be within their blood or their bloodstreams. Also, this brings us to another point. Equally, we could have the issue, or non-issue actually, of finding that their blood or something about them actually cures human ailments. Say maybe cures cancer, or goodness knows what else. There's all kind of different directions this could take, but the health is definitely a major, major issue point that would need to be addressed very, very quickly. Otherwise, humanity or the race of aliens could be in very, very big trouble. And these are, again, just a few of many, many things to deal with. Also, UFOs are known to have a lot of radiation that they give off. And being near an alien or UFO, because they've come through space, might give off some deadly radiation. We don't know. That's another question that needs to be taken into account, is what amount of radiation is being given off at any given time by our friends from space, if any at all. Again, many, many things to think about. And you can go back again to the rights of living, because, you know, what would we give them land? Would they be able to just buy homes and get jobs? That's another thing when it comes to jobs. How would we fairly judge an alien opposed to a human coworker? We would want to be fair across the board, right? But how would we make that judgment? How would we have to have a different scale of grading and when it comes to the species that would be here opposed to the human species? Could we even be graded on the same scale? Will we have the same abilities? Or would our gifts, or their gifts, either way, put them in a class all of their own? All of these questions to be asked. The political ramifications, the rights, the immigration, all the different aspects of life would be turned topsy-turvy. Our economy, even with the post-petroleum world. Disclosure is going to be something that is going to shake up our entire system and way of life if it ever happens. Would the people panic? I don't think so. I don't think the people would panic at all. I think the people would take it in stride and deal and adapt very, very well. But then again, we know how people are. There is always that aspect of fear, which sadly enough will creep in whether we like it or not. And I don't see a way to get around this particular aspect. But it's, again, one of many, many things we need to think about if we're going to encounter an alien race. But what else would be on the table? We've got new technology. We've got new religious bases. We've got new economic bases. Maybe they would bring us jobs that we hadn't even thought about. Maybe we could start building new equipment, new technologies that we wouldn't have even began to dream of before. Maybe they would bring us a history. There's another thing that would really be touched, is history, especially if they had a history of the Earth, or maybe a history of pieces of the cosmos that we don't know about. Perhaps they could teach us new sciences, new physics, new ways of the workings of the universe. Maybe they know the secrets to black hole travel. Maybe they know the secrets to traveling faster than light. Maybe they know secrets of physics that we haven't even began to dream of. There's so much that we could learn between different species. Maybe they have a wisdom that is beyond anything we've ever known. Perhaps they've gotten to the point in their growth as a species that they've learned how to survive in a different way that we hadn't even began to think of yet. Maybe they've decided or came up with new ways of government. Maybe they've come up with new ways of owning property, or maybe they don't own anything. Maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe they have no ownership of anything, and they just believe in everything being everyone's. We can speculate all day long, and that's the fun part, because with an alien civilization, there really is no telling the bounds at which it could go. Perhaps they have different food tastes. There's something else. Perhaps maybe they don't like humans. Perhaps maybe they like cats, like Alf. Everybody remembers our old buddy Alf from the 80s. Or perhaps they like cat food, like in the movie The District, I believe it was. District 9, I think, was the name of that movie. There's no telling, and there's no end to the craziness that could ensue. Well, maybe they like eating plastic. Again, could you imagine you're eating a meal and they're eating the bowl that you're eating out of? I don't know how much I could handle sitting watching someone chow down on plastic. And that's only being mild, because there's no telling what they may actually enjoy or their body and needs may be. And again, the food this differential could be big. Maybe they eat the same things we do. Maybe they're vegetarian. Maybe they don't eat meat. Maybe they only eat meat. Maybe they only drink water. Maybe they don't need food at all. Maybe they get their sustenance from the sun. There's so much that can be learned if we were to interact with and integrate with an alien civilization. And again, it goes back to a mirror of ourselves and our own humanities. When we really think about it, even the cultural differences, like cultural differences between countries and cultural differences between societies, and maybe they have holidays that would seem absolutely goofy to us, right? Maybe they have holidays that would just seem what we would call, for lack of a better term, out of this world. There's so many questions and things we could speculate on about the society and civilizations that could exist outside of this earthly realm, if you will. And that's only to begin the speculation, but disclosure, D-Day. Do you guys really, really think it could happen? Do you think the government will one day come out on the red carpet and admit to the public, to the entire world, that they've been studying UFOs, that UFOs are very, very real, that aliens are very real, and that they've been in contact with them, if not had them here on the earth already, for a very long time? Of course, there is the idea of the reptilians that live underground, or the tall whites that might visit, or the different civilizations that may live around the North Pole or South Pole, or, you know, all the different rumors and stories of aliens that may be here. Well, what if we were to find out those were actually true? How weird would that be? Or maybe the aliens will come down and actually show themselves and introduce themselves to humanity, whether any government likes it or not. And only, maybe if we're lucky, they will be friendly and not a foe. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave the question to you. What do you think? Do you think this will happen, or do you think it's just some more hot air and will never happen, and will continue to carry along and be treated like 5-year-olds and never really be told the truth by our government or anything else out there? Ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. How? Yeah. And that's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really appreciate everybody being here, whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat. We appreciate you having us right there with you. The den may be closing, guys, but don't you worry. The weekend fun is only just begun. Check it out. I know what the rabbits are planning for this weekend, and it's actually really, really cool. So Thursday night is one of my favorite shows. Sadly, I won't be able to make it there this month, but it is the interactive game show known as the Family Fun Show. That's right. We're going to have Family Fun Night here on the network Thursday coming up, and then after that we're going to have Brian Stavely on Friday night over in AJ's Ripon Rabbit Hole. That's right, he's invited Brian Stavely on to discuss Centerville, Mandela Effect, and much, much more. And then after that, ladies and gentlemen, coming up on Saturday, it is a very special 4th of July Independence Day special that you are not going to want to miss. I guarantee you this will definitely be one for the books. If I know the rabbit any way whatsoever, I know that he has something absolutely amazing planned for that night. And speaking of amazing, it just keeps getting better and better because Sunday night, ladies and gentlemen, Mandela Monthly. This is going to be a very Mandela weekend. It is. Mandela Monthly coming up with a very, very special guest, guys. I am going to kind of drop a little bombshell here. I heard the rabbits talking. They're so excited. They've got Dr. Loftus. Dr. Loftus is the leading person when it comes to memory. She's got many, many accreditations to her name, and he is very, very, very excited to have her on and discuss memory on Mandela Monday with Moneybags 73. I do hope I got the number right that time. The man has so many numbers behind his name. It's crazy. You know what else is crazy? The crazy fun we have all the time over in the Backstage Lounge, which is where I will be after the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join me and hang out and discuss more about the disclosure and how you think disclosure will look, I would love to hear it. Just come on over to the Backstage 24/7 Lounge. Go on to the riponrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Over there, you're going to click on the Backstage 24/7 Lounge. When you do, you're going to enter in. You'll be asked to give the permissions for your microphone and your camera. And don't you worry, you can turn both of those off the moment you get in there, and you can use text chat only. We have a couple friends who do just that, and we love the interaction, and we love to hear from you and what you have got to say about our topic. There's so many fun friends back there, guys. I actually know people who use it kind of like a bedroom. They'll go to sleep in there. I've seen it a couple times. It's really, really fun, though. They don't want to leave. It's just that much fun. They never want the party to end. And I got to say, I'm the same way. I never want the party to end. Also, you want to give us a shout out. Let us know how we're doing over here on the air. Down at the bottom of every page is a big red button. That's right. Go ahead and click that red button. You'll be able to record 30 seconds of audio and ship it over here to us in the studio, and we will gladly put it on the air. So far, I really haven't heard many of them. I'd play them on the air if I had. So, guys, come on, send me some shout outs over here. The old Wolf's Den's getting lonely without hearing from you guys. We have a whole lot of fun over there on the Ripon Rabbit Hole, you guys know. Make sure also while you're over there you sign up for the newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday and has the shows for the entire weekend. Because remember, our weekend here kicks off every Wednesday night. And you want to make sure you have that schedule and know all the fun that's coming up. Also, while you're over there, make sure you check out our groups page. Last but not least, our groups. That's right, we got the Dark Wolf's Den show group. And we've got some friends over there. We really want to grow these groups over there, guys. So give us a hand over there and, pop on and make yourself known. We'd love to hear from you. Also, we'd love to hear what you want to hear from us. That's right. Go on over to our show groups, topics and suggestions page and drop us some ideas. We would love to know what you guys want to hear us discuss. It's for you we do this, and it's for you we want to keep things fresh. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and this is the Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio. Until next week, I wish everybody a very, very happy and safe 4th of July. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Independence Day. I know I will be. I'll be thinking about every last one of you, and I hope every one of you from coast to coast here in America and around our amazing planetary realm, if you will. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody has a wonderful and safe time. Once again, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and this has been the Dark Wolf's Den Show.
Hi, everyone. It's AJ again, the Ripon Rabbit. What a way to kick off the weekend right. Did you enjoy Dark Wolf's Den Show D-Day, day after disclosure? If you did, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, all weekend long, right here on the very best of common sense radio, the RiponRabbitHole.com. I'll return tomorrow night with our monthly installment of Fantastic Fun Show, an interactive family game show. Will Nikki Rabbit stay seated on the throne as the Fantastic Fun King Queen or become the first to remain seated 2 times in a row? Or will someone claim the crown? Tune in tomorrow night starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's Thursday, July 2nd. Then Friday, July 3rd, a heavy dose of reality with Mr. Brian Stavely. He'll be here. We're going to learn a lot more about him and his Mandela Effect journey through time with a dose of reality. Friday, July 3rd, 2020, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that. Then Saturday night, our special Independence episode. Tune in for a special holiday edition, an Independence Spectacular. That's Saturday, July 4th, 2020, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then Sunday night, July 5th, you won't want to miss our special episode of the Mandela Monthly July installation. Co-host Moneybag73 will be here. We're going to dive down Mandela Unaffected with special guest Dr. Elizabeth Loftus.
I'm a psychological scientist. I study memory. I've studied memory for decades. And if I meet somebody on an airplane and we ask each other, what do you do, and I say I study memory, they usually want to tell me how they have trouble remembering names, or they've got a relative who's got Alzheimer's or some kind of memory problem. But I have to tell them, I don't study when people forget. I study the opposite, when they remember things that didn't happen, or remember things that were different from the way they really were.
And that, again, the voice, our guest, Sunday, July 5th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, American cognitive psychologist and expert on human memory, joins Moneybag73 and I for our monthly edition of the Mandela Monthly. You won't want to miss it. She just happens to be the foremost influential female psychologist of the 20th century. And she'll be here Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, this Sunday, right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the RiponRabbitHole.com.
Are you a YouTube creator that's tired of fighting over copyright issues for using the wrong music in your videos? Or perhaps a songwriter looking for something new? I know when I started Dark Wolf's Den, I needed some original music, and for me, the answer was a no-brainer. I immediately called Tom Bayless of Red Shed Studios. Tom has been in the music industry for over 20 years and has a true passion for the art. So if you need a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you contact Tom Bayless at Red Shed Studios at 920-344-7634. That's 920-344-7634. Red Shed Studios. Don't you wish that your weekend was longer than just 2 days? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because here on Ripon Common Sense Radio, our weekend begins on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Our weekend kicks off every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with Dark Wolf's Den, starring yours truly, Jerry the Dark Wolf. But that's where the fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back every Thursday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show, starring AJ the Ripon Rabbit. He dives into the archives of vocal legend Art Bell and brings those stories up to date. So make sure that you spend your extended weekends with the Animals of Radio, Jerry the Dark Wolf and AJ the Ripon Rabbit, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, every Wednesday through Sunday, right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Absolute beginners came to Georgetown. They were wearing Harris tweed and pork pie hats. They'd slit your throat and throw you in the gutter. But it's all you can expect from men like that. The bus is bound for Niles Bend Harbor. The ladies wear perfume to scar your nose. And the only way to reach them is to scare them. But of that you know little, I suppose. It's a magical and mystical performance as you perambulate right down the road with your pockets full of stardust and perfection, and Jesus on your side and in your soul. She had rings on every finger and 10 bracelets, some touch with powers given by a sage. He had contemplated giving her his wristwatch. The time for him had long since gone its way. Of the city he would shuffle while spinning on his heels and chewing beef. He had promised her he'd be a vegetarian, but he could not control his lust for meat. Some say she left the streets for greater glory, but others said that she was big with child. Whatever was the truth, it did not matter. He would hunt her down and cut her with his smile. Last time he was seen was by the pawn shop. He traded 2 gold teeth for a sack of corn, and he would plant it on the outskirts of the city as a warning that he would someday return. He said he never found her and he's still looking. It is said he searches rivers for some sign, but the truth is that he caught her down in Georgetown with a Spaniard who had left his wife behind.